Today was our sixth practice, but our first scrimmage, and it was a true test to see, hey, let's put the ball down and play base football. Ball was at the 25 most of the time, and just let's go play the length of the field and see what happens. If it was a situation where it was 2 yards or less to go based off of analytics, we kind of played that, but just went out there, played football, kicked field goals, and extra points were needed. But at the end of the day, the best thing I liked was there was a great competitive spirit amongst the guys. I mean, they went out there and they battled. Even their attitude coming in this morning, with us being mostly afternoon practices so far this spring, they came in. Guys are a little bit sore and just said, hey, let's go. We put the ball down and played. And a lot of good things and so many teachable moments. Other than base football, we did two-minute situations. But when it was all said and done, we did about 95 plays out there, recycling between the ones, the twos, the threes, the fours, whatever we could. And I was just pleased. I thought the effort was there. There's so much to learn from, so much to grow from, but a lot of good tape out there. And the best thing, I was just pleased with their attitude and their effort, the way they went and attacked this thing. Had some officials there, some SEC officials. So it was good to get some live look with having a full crew out there. Relatively clean. When it was all said and done, but I like the direction we're heading in. We just got to continue to make progress every single day.
Did you, with the quarterbacks, did you rotate both guys with the ones, or did one guy stay with the one? How did that work out today?
The rotation again, yep, for sure. So that's kind of how we did it, which I thought was, as kind of like we've done. I know some of the practices you'll come out and say, hey, this guy's getting the one. But with those scrimmages, I think you do it to the best of your ability. Hey, who's getting this guy will get with the ones, and this guy will get with the twos. And then you may turn back around and you go back out there with the ones, or depending on how that series went. But KJ and AJ got the majority of the reps with the ones and twos. Again, it was a coin toss, really based off of who may have gotten the last reps. When it's all said and done, at the spring game, they're going to be on separate teams most likely. And go out there. So they're, just continue that battle.
So I don't know what the win was for you today. Maybe not as bad as Tuesday and Thursday, but you're probably not used to such windy practices as you've had this week. Huh?
Our sports information director, Kyle, asked if we could go indoors because it was too windy for him. So with all the rain, we went inside. I was hoping we could be out in the stadium. But yeah, so we went indoors, which gets constricted, but we got beautiful indoors, so we were able to get a lot of no wind in there today. Maybe a south-southwest 1 mile per hour wind coming from Barn Hill Drive, but other than that, no. We have had some windy practices, and I think, listen, you got to prepare for the elements. You can't have any excuse. I don't care if it's 104 degrees. Or 4 degrees and a lot of wind, right? I mean, the reality of it, we get all 4 seasons here, and we hope we're playing deep football. So the opportunity to go out there, regardless, we don't allow excuses or explanations. Just go out there. Today, 72 degrees with that 1 mile per hour wind. They figured it out.
You were in the stadium?
No, sir.
On practice fields?
No, in the indoor.
Oh, you were in the indoor.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I thought I misunderstood what you were saying.
No, I'm sorry.
Okay. So you mentioned 95 plays. Was it ones versus twos? How was that set?
Yeah, the whole time. Ones versus ones, twos versus twos. Now, if there was an injury or something, like a 2 would go with a 1, a 3 would go with a 2, and then sometimes you'd say, hey, who had 3s and 4s? So that was our best, just good on good. Go play ball. And trade the whole time as, hey, ball's at the 25 left hash, ball's at the 25 right hash, and just go. And like I said, once we got towards the 50, hey, 2 yards or less would be a go, playing some of that game. And then the only other situation we did was a 2-minute situation. I believe it was a minute 31, 1 timeout, and offense was down 2. Earlier in the week, we had done another 2-minute situation where the offense was down 5. And so we don't necessarily have the hurry-up field goal, but just putting that in there. And on one of those situations, actually pretty unique, a great thing to teach off of. Big explosive play, get tackled literally at the 1-yard line, 12 seconds left. All right, the question is, with the first down, do you burn the timeout there? Right? This is great communication for us to talk about as a coaching staff, for me, for our players. Do you hurry up and run a tempo run? Do you run a pass, right? Snap that ball with 11 seconds, and then you have that timeout if you need to run the ball? Do you kick do you let the clock run and then kick it from that weird angle? The ball's on the 6-inch line, down 2. Do you go for or if you're down 3, depending to tie? All those things. I think that's all interesting as you go for it. But some great teachable situational things. But it was good. Again, a lot of base football. Go out there. We're really on both sides of the ball, 4 installs in, even though it's our 6th practice. And so getting to see who can actually go out there and tackle and block and make some catches and throws.
You mentioned a couple of scenarios. Were there like very dedicated scenarios, like aside from the 2-minute time? Was it
Not
third
today.
down?
Yeah,
work,
not
or?
today. Today was just strictly, hey, ball's first and P and 10, let's go play ball. And so what we've implemented in practice this week was, you guys, I don't know how much of that y'all got to see prior, was like we started introducing some red zone, then low red zone. We did a series of backed up, right? Balls on our own 2-yard line. We did some 2-minute situations. So we'll continue to implement situational football throughout spring. You know, I've kind of got a library of, hey, making sure we're touching base on this stuff. And some of it, you know, it can be so nuanced that you just say, hey, this may be something worth talking about during OTAs or training camp, but we're going to get as much situational football, third down work, skelly, you know, red zone stuff as we can throughout spring ball.
And how would you assess the quarterbacks? How did they do today?
Yeah, I think KJ and AJ had good days. I really do. I think they went out there, and the biggest thing you want to see in the first scrimmage, and again, right, there's been some rotation of receivers, some linemen here or there, but just going out and, okay, who can take command of the offense and who can play efficient football. I told you guys in one of my first press conferences, right, like you want quarterbacks that are efficient, and that means taking care of the football, putting the offense in the best situation. Maybe that's a check play to the other side. Maybe that's a fixing the protection or taking the checkdowns when it's there. I thought they both executed at a high level. Statistically, you know, I don't go into that sitting here just coming off the field, but I thought they both did some really nice things. I can't sit here and say, hey, one really outperformed the other. I'm just pleased with the way they both went out there and took command.
Based off what Kyle said, just told us, you know, Charlie and Jamonte both having a sack. How important is it, that position, to be able to rush the passer, you know, opposite Quincy? And what are you seeing from those guys right now?
Yeah, I think it's huge. That's that jack position we talked about when we talked about how did you want to base this defense. And I think the ability to get after the quarterback at that position is huge, right? We know Quincy Rhodes has great pass rush ability, and we're going to continue to talk to Quincy about, you know, continue to be better at that and being great versus the run. But that jack position, right, we don't want them just to be pass rushers, but it's nice to be able to see, right, the ability to bend the edge, do different variety of pass rush moves. It's huge, right, because we know you have to be able to affect the quarterback in here. And if you can get there without having to blitz, if it's a 4-man rush, you give yourself a better opportunity at the back end, as we well know, right? You don't want to have to, hey, we got to pressure every time in order to get pressure on the quarterback, especially if you have one guy that can get it. Now, do they have to slide the back over there? Does the protection go that way? Or what does that ultimately end up looking like?
How are health-wise coming out of today? And also, I think, you know, we maybe noticed Kavion and Bryant not practicing on Thursday. What's their status right now?
Sure. Let me start with Kavion. Kavion's sick, illness, so I'm no HIPAA violation there. Just he should be back. We're hoping on Tuesday, and then Bryant should be a lower leg deal that shouldn't keep him out too much longer. It's not a long-term injury. But he's played a lot of football. We got good faith that he'll be okay. And we have some other guys. We had another guy this morning that, late through the night was ill, that wasn't able to go out there. But for the most part, we've got some dislocated fingers from that. We're teaching guys to use their hands and battle through there. But as of off the top of my head, I don't notice any long-term injuries.
I guess it sounded like not too many turnovers for the offense today. I think he mentioned one interception. I mean, how good is that to see the first scrimmage? You mentioned it, the quarterback's taking care of the ball carriers as well. But on the flip side, that means the defense isn't. How do you balance that as a coach? Maybe assessing that.
Well, listen, I think the positive is taking care of the football, right? As an offense, if you can go out there and execute and play relatively clean penalty football and take care of the football and execute. The offense had some explosive plays. And you're right, the defense got that one takeaway in the 95. But now those sacks could have been sack fumbles, right? We're blowing the whistle quick on those. And then I think another thing to be said, and I compliment the defense on this, is I don't get caught up in yards given up. Literally defending every blade of glass. There's some of those, they got them all the way down to a 4th and 2, and we said go for it, and the ball was on the 20-yard line, and the defense got to stop. There are some of these turnover on downs, and to me, those are just as critical as taking the football away, right? If you prevent the punt or stopping them, like I said, the defense had the goal line stop, which is huge. And so the ability to win the game on those things in the 2-minute situations. So I was pleased with that because I think the defense went out there and they just flew around. You got to see them play with a pulse and the energy that they went out there and did some things with. Was it perfect? No. Was the offense perfect? Heck no. even the specialists, right? There's a lot to be determined, but yeah, you want to get takeaways. But I'm quite pleased that the offense was relatively smart with football today.
Sounded like some highlights for Ismail CC today. Just what have you seen from him so far? He's a guy we haven't gotten to see a lot of with the injury, but what made you want to keep him around, and what have you liked about what he's done so far?
Well, obviously he missed all last year with the wrist injury, and so I went back and I remember watching his film from Stanford. My previous stop, I watched his film, and I always, man, this kid's productive. And the word, as a wide receiver, he was consistent. He's not the tallest, he's not the fastest, but man, he's a fantastic route runner. He's smart, he can block, and he's consistent. And I think what's happened is now we're getting to see him because he's a year off due to injury. Now you're getting to see what does he look like day after day. And I think we're seeing a really consistent wide receiver, somebody they're going to rely a lot on. And I think all the quarterbacks know when you have a reliable receiver, doesn't matter how fast they are or how big they are. If they can go out there and the ball's thrown at them, they're going to catch it and get the yardage. You're usually looking for them, right? It's nice to have the 6'4" guy. It's nice to have the 4'2" guy. But, man, if a guy can go out there and be reliable as a wide receiver, I've been very, very pleased with his growth, and I think he's enjoying being a part of this, like getting back into it and getting to the groove. We've been quite pleased with him.
Kyle read us the field goal stats. We haven't watched those guys just with the way practice is set up, but how do you and the special team staff feel about the field goal guys specifically, and then also just some of those other specialists?
Yeah, so we're currently on the roster. We have 3 kickers. Max was the one I was talking about. Was out today with Max Gilbert was out today with illness. Braden McAllister's a name you guys know that we bought in. That was a transfer from Georgia State. He's got a strong leg. And then, special teams, most of the special teams we've done, believe it or not, has been punt team. Like a lot of it, right? We introduce field goal and do some of those things, and that's important, but mostly as a full unit. We've done a ton of punt stuff, and Gavin Rush has done a great job. We brought in Adam Johnston as a long snapper transfer from Sac State, who's done a great job. More of that's op times, and it's our job to get the techniques. But the specialists, I've been pleased with them. Obviously, it's a little bit different, right? Whether you're kicking in the indoor or out there doing a deal, what's going to look like when hopefully we get into the stadium next Saturday and kind of get more into the elements of it.
We've seen you run around all over practices. You told us that's kind of how you like to do it. Is the scrimmage any different? Like, where are you and what are you doing when the team's scrimmaging?
So scrimmages are very similar to almost like a game day for me. My job during the scrimmage is to make sure it's all organized, because I'll go on the headset and it doesn't matter what the script says. It may say, hey, 1s, then 2s, then 3s, then what? Hey, let's get the 2s back up. Let's go. I want the 1 field goal unit out there. And so it's just constant communication. I'm actually very calm during the scrimmage. And on game day, like I told you guys in the prior to us going out the tunnel, yeah, my head's spinning, we're going crazy, all those things. But as soon as we get settled on the sideline, that doesn't mean I don't coach with passion and energy and emotion, but I'm best when I can think neutrally. And I think when I can be calm, cool, and collected there. Now, things occur, obviously, and you have conversations, but I kind of step back, and I'm almost by the head ref during most of the scrimmages, having that communication as well, making sure we're all on the same page. And it's managing the scrimmage, and no different than a game, right? It's my job to be the game manager during the game, make sure we're where we need to be with timeouts, what's that look like. If I have a suggestion on play calling, special teams, you're going to find that's very similar on those Saturday scrimmages as well.
Just wanted to clarify. You said on one time the ball went out at the 1, 12 seconds left. Was that the goal line stand, or what was the resolution of that?
That was a goal line stand. Yep.
So what, you needed a field goal to take the lead. What happened?
Yeah, I made the offense go for it. Sometimes you got to create your own situations. That's part of football, right? So,
you got one play out of it or 2?
Well, great question. So what ended up happening was the clock wound. It's a great teaching moment for the quarterback, everybody knowing, hey, where the clock is in the indoor, getting lined up, and then also great communication between me and Cramsey. Hey, let's go with this play call and get it out quickly. Right, make sure we're all on the same page with the special teams coordinator, all those things. So the clock started winding. All right, so what did we do? We burned the timeout and just ran one more play.
Wow.
So ideally, you get the clock, you go out of bounds, or if he got tackled inbounds, right? You got the first down. Clock's going to start when the ball's spotted and the ump gets out of the way. Well, during this situation, man, ball got down, and it's just teaching everybody, hey, you got to go, because as soon as that ball gets spotted and he blows it, clock's rolling. So we have to have a play call ready. And, you don't want to burn the timeout. Now, if you say you're going to kick a field goal to win it at the end, right, then probably, depending on where it is, maybe you do a pass play, right? We've got some things in our scheme that we say, okay, how do we burn some of the clock? And if it's there, if not, throw it away. Or do I let the clock run all the way down to 3 seconds and bang the timeout? So I just want to continue. I think it's so much teaching. The other day at practice, we had one where a guy caught the ball for a 5-yard gain, and try to cut back towards the field north to south, just go out of bounds. We had no timeouts. Just go out of bounds, understand the situation. And I think the more of those things we can teach, the better way off we are. So there's going to be things that like, hey, you should have done this, but let's just put these guys in situations where they're going to have to think critically, where they're going to have to put themselves, because as much as we'll try to control on the sideline, what else is going on? And I think that's a thing we're going to continue. As much situation as we can be, we want to be the best at situational football in the country.
Right, so it was all move the ball, but moving the starting spots here and there, I take it.
No, yeah, I was very clean, 25-yard line. Let's go,
Okay.
yeah.
Do you recall touchdown drives? Anybody score touchdown?
I tell you what, the defense did a nice job. The ball got all the way down to that far, and defense kept them out. So I was pleased with that. There were some field goals, but like I said, the defense did a nice job keeping them out. Playing the play, gave up some explosives, and I told them, right, if the yardage comes, that's fine. But if we keep them out of the end zone, man, we got to give ourselves a chance. Like force them to kick field goals, force them to punt, get those turnover on downs, make them go for it on the 42-yard line. And so that's where I was quite pleased with. We talked about not as many takeaways, but, man, those turnover on downs was great.
I wanted to ask you about the cornerback specifically. It looks like Jaheim, Joker, and Lakai have kind of gone with the ones. Is there anyone else who's in competition there and who might, be able to push into a big role?
Yeah, Shelton Lewis has rotated some with the ones as well. Brandon Lee, the transfer from Maryland as well, who was there with Lakai. And I think just kind of getting a feel for somewhat of these other guys can do. Hey, is this guy a corner? Is he a safety? But we like those guys. I think we got guys, some guys have played a good amount of football, but some guys are relatively green in the ability. But I like what we have in that corner position. Like we always said, feel like more you can trust those guys, maybe play more man. But that group, those four collectively have done a nice job, and we're going to see who else we can get.
Christian Harrison on Thursday was working safety. I think I've just seen him working nickel most of the time. Is that just like trying to get the best guys on the field? You got Kamori House, also working nickel.
Yeah, it's kind of like when we talked about. We talked to Kamori. It was going to be mostly a nickel, and then possibly that star position, possibly some safety. But Kamori's more of that nickel, that star linebacker type, and then Christian is more that safety nickel type or star nickel. So I think that position flex, Christian is really intelligent. He's played a lot of football, so I think the ability for him to be able to play both of those positions gives us a huge advantage. So we want all those guys on the back end to be able to learn to. Like that's why you'll see maybe a corner going to safety, or hey, this guy's got really fluid hips. Let's try him at corner, because we're still getting to know these guys quite a bit. But I think if they can learn two of those positions, he will, and he's certainly capable.
I think I've seen a coach wear a headset during practice, but Tim wears one pretty much every time, doesn't he?
During most of the team stuff, yeah. And a lot of that headset for him is so you have the option to either do the walkie-talkie or the headset with the C2P, the coach-to-player communication. So his headset actually gives the communication to the quarterback. So that's part of it. It's not necessarily, like if you notice, and if maybe he's even telling the guys the signaling, because if I'm a signal guy and I got to look at the call sheet and then try to signal, where I put the call sheet as I'm trying to signal. So it's twofold. The guys that are signaling, right, have the ability to just wear their headsets and get the signal directly, the play call directly from him. And then also the C2P can come from that. So he's not necessarily having to walk around. Coach Roberts sometimes just walks around with the walkie-talkie.
A lot of these scrimmages, well, you may be different, but I've seen a lot of scrimmages in the past that are more passing game focused versus the run. Pretty balanced.
Pretty balanced. Let's go play ball. Line up. We need. We've had some recruits show up and they say, "Man, y'all tackle a lot more than a lot of places." Well, we want to be healthy, right? This is not me sitting up here saying we're just going to beat the hell out of each other, but we need to see who can block, who can tackle, who can run through things, who likes physicality, and I think that's something we can determine now. Now, as you go on, right, we'll have one more scrimmage, and then the spring game. The scrimmage next Saturday is going to be live, okay? And the spring game is going to be live. And then when we come to training camp, right, it's a debate. How many live scrimmages do you do? But you have to replicate it. You can't go out there and say, hey, we haven't tackled live, but we're going to be out there ready for game one. So as much as we can do it, you can say we can practice on pads and all that stuff. We all know, right, that there's nothing better than the real thing, as long as we can be safe and healthy. But, yeah, there was call to play. And I think some of it is, even in those situations, hey, 3rd and 4, right, let's hand the ball off, see what we're capable of doing.
Quarterbacks, I assume, are off limits as far as hits, but any other rules like tackling below the waist, anything like that?
No, if we had officials out there today. I try to help with the whistle. If a guy's getting held up, I try to blow the whistle. If it's getting close to it, and it's how close are they? We don't want anybody getting too close to the quarterback, but we also don't want them thinking they're Spider-Man. If they get within 5 feet, they can just shoot a web. And come on, let's make sure, right? We don't want everybody yelling, "Hey, he's down." But just being smart with that, and I think they take care of each other. No blindside blocks. If somebody gets whether it's a screen or if somebody gets an interception, we don't want to peel back stuff. Usually we'll blow the whistle on a turnover. If the ball's on the ground, if an offensive player fumbles the ball, okay, and if it's a quarterback that drops it real quick on the snap, he can pick it back up and play ball. If somebody fumbles the ball into the play, it's the defensive ball. Offensive guys get away. Turnovers are death. Get off the field, go do your up downs. It's a defensive ball right there. So anytime the ball hits the ground from an offensive player, get away. It's no longer our ball. It's defense has a right to it. And it practices fumble recoveries for the defense, but also as an offensive guy, it prevents injuries because if all of a sudden you get guys jumping in or guys getting rolled up, I've learned over time that's probably the best practice right now.
You can always get a lot of good looks at the offensive line and defensive line, I think, through non-tackle stuff, but it seems like these are going to be big for running backs and linebackers especially. Anybody jump out from the linebacker corps? And also, is Phoenix Jackson, has he been out there?
He's a little bit banged up.
Okay.
We don't think it's a long-term injury either. So but he has done a nice job. He's done a really good job at linebacker. We haven't talked much is Quay Smith. Okay, the transfer. He plays with a different edge about him. You can see it. He's really explosive. He runs the ball. He's vocal. Bradley Shaw's having a really nice spring so far as well. I know he played a lot of football here, but you're seeing Bradley. I think he's trimmed down a little bit. He's really explosive and doing some really good things. We talked about the Wyatt Simmons pick. Corey Smith, I don't like talking about young guys too much, but the freshman who's out there, first couple of days, he's big eyes trying to figure it all out. But once he's learning this system, man, you get to see some of his athletic ability. And then at the running back position, I've seen a lot of Sutton Smith, right, throughout my career, and I know what he's capable of. He's doing some good things. Continue to encourage Sutton, who's a shifty back, just to hit the ball, go downfield. A 3-yard run will take it. And some of those have exploded, until now you break a tackle or you get through there, you read the right read or make somebody miss in the hole. Now it's a different deal. Braylon Russell, I've talked about, he's trimmed down. He's playing hard. His effort has been tremendous. We have this thing, like you guys have heard me talk about our standard. Like Braylon Russell's on there for his effort almost every day. And I told him, I said, that's the knock on you coming in. Man, let me see what you're capable of. How hard do you practice? And he's been great. And then, Cam Settles, running back last year who I think his red shirt got burned with 6 or 7 games, but playing sparingly. But, man, he's a young running back that's doing a lot of things, catches the ball really well. All right. And then TJ Hodges is another true freshman that first couple weeks, big guys trying to figure it all out. Now he's getting settled, and you get to see some of his speed and tenacity. We got to continue to teach him, run through the tackles. But I've been pleased with both the linebacker and running back depth, and we're going to see guys that continue to rotate and see what they're capable of doing.
You mentioned Jaquavian Smith. I don't think there was a lot of celebration. The guy from Howard that nobody really knows about. I'm wondering how that recruitment from when he entered the portal came about. Is there a connection there? And I think he came out with the first group the first day. What did he do to put himself in that spot? Yeah,
I think a lot of it is to whatever it's worth. Not worried about the fanfare of a player. He's a guy we watched on film. Was man, this kid's really productive. He's fast. He runs the ball and plays physical. Didn't matter where he came from, and just go out there and he played ball. It reminds me, he's not as big, but we had a kid named Chandler Martin that we got from the FCS level at Memphis, and he had been a 2-time All-Conference player. And people are like, wait, where did he come from? And he had opportunities and had success with us. And Quay Smith's been just phenomenal. And so I think you got to actually watch it on film. You go back and watch him on the Howard film, you see some of those intangible things that he's able to do. And it's showing up. It's showing up on a Tuesday practice. And like you said, whether he goes with the 1s or the 2s, he's a guy, great understanding. He's a ball junkie. And so that's kind of fun to watch him out there and do those things.
What about the interior of the defensive line? So many new guys, transfers that you brought in, and then the 2 freshmen look like college bodies already. What have you seen from that group, and what did you see from them today?
David Oakey's a guy that was a highly recruited transfer but missed most of last year with an injury. He's coming in and doing some really good things. Hunter Osborne is a guy that I think has a chance to be really damn good. I like the way he plays. Hunter's got some leadership about him. Obviously started a lot of football games at UVA last year and played a lot. Obviously, prior to that, he transferred from Alabama. But I've been pleased with Hunter, is what he's doing. Then just the rotation of those guys, right? Dede Sims sometimes goes inside. What's he capable of? And T. Odom, yeah, like you getting in the mix, just seeing what they're all capable of. And then for Beal and Kennedy, man, they're two young guys that look the part for sure. We just got to continue to push. Been pleased. Danny's does some really good things. And I think it's just, taking the bit. Colton Yarbrough, an edge guy, but another freshman that's, getting thrown in the mix at D-line in the SEC as a freshman. It's kind of neat to kind of see what you got.
You talked about fourth down a little bit today. What's your relationship with that down, with the analytics? How much do you rely on, the paper, or, is it always the paper? Do you not really like to look at it? What's your relationship there?
Sure, I do, right? Analytics is something that's always been in football, and then obviously become more in vogue and discussed, which is great. I think the more you can have those discussions on when to go for what it looks like, 2-minute situations, situational football, it's great. And have those conversations with the entire staff and make sure the team understands why. I think you look at it can certainly help you in certain situations. I think there's also, when those analytic books are written, if they're written on a Wednesday and they try to have an understanding what that weather may look like at 6 p.m. on a Saturday, but there's also the ebbs and flows of a football game, right? What's the crowd noise look like? Hey, did the right guard's girlfriend break up with him the night before? Like, you can't measure that in an analytic book. And so you got to know, okay, hey, maybe we got to figure this out. Maybe we got to punt here because they're starting punt returners out with an injury, and maybe we have the opportunity to get the ball if the new guy drops or doesn't make the right call. And so I think there's a lot that goes into it. You still got to go with some gut feeling. But if you can use analytics to help you make an educated decision, we will. And so it's that fine balance. I don't know any coach that just says 100% strictly by the book and analytics, and I don't know another coach that's 100% gut. Now, there's some that, will tell you they're one way or the other, but I think the more that we can be educated in a decision and a process, we will be. And, how do you put yourselves in those situations in these practices and these scrimmages? Just to have that dialogue, I think it's huge.
Last one. Antonio Jordan, we've seen him make plays. Kyle mentioned something. Just, does it feel like he's working his way up to, second, first team, just slowly but surely right now? I mean, the frame kind of speaks for itself.
The frame speaks for itself. He's a young guy. I think Coach Smith, y'all had him in here, I think this week or the week before. I think he refers to him as like a baby giraffe, just kind of learning how to walk and move. But, man, AJ's got some really, really talented skill set, and he does a lot of great things. Obviously, that frame, the radius, he's able to go catch the football. He's working really hard. He's got that blue collar mentality, and he cares. We just got to continue to progress him in understanding the depths of routes, understanding the full element of the playbook, right? Just because I always say, it goes back to the statement, like, just because a guy's 6'4" and runs well, like, there's other things that go along with the route running. He's continued to learn that, but been very, very pleased with him. We'll see where he falls in the mix. He's got a lot of football left to continue to play.